They say behind every successful man there's a great woman.
Well, I tell you what, yeah, it's amazing, but you're right. I don't have to think about paying the home bills. I don't think about having to take care of things at home, and entertaining-wise and so on like that. My wife Lexi has been just fabulous with that. You know, I was out running around carousing at that point. Before that, you come home and you get things. You have a meal. You can come home late. It gives you the opportunity to work harder and longer. And again, you fall back to the same thing before, like Lombardi said, you know, harder you work, the luckier you get. And so without having someone like Lexi, I would be struggling.
Since you bring up Patty Peterson, why don't you tell me a little about Patty and what she's meant to this company?
Oh, Patty is the heartbeat of this company. And had been working for Sears, was apparently unhappy there, but not, she was working there, but didn't, it was just a job. Lexi told me, said, why don't you talk to Patty? She's not real happy with Sears. And I said, you know, we got a little tiny company in LA, and you're working in this big Sears building, you've got a very successful career. But I'm looking for someone to be my assistant. So I said, okay, well, here's what we're gonna do. And she said, oh, I'll take it. Just like that. I said, okay. Well, so I thought, well, we're going to bring Patty in. So I tried to get it set up. But her first desk was a 3-foot by 5-foot metal desk with metal drawers, 3 legs, and 2 phone books holding the desk up. And that kept it balanced. And that's how she started out. But as we grew, she became invaluable to run things past and say, what do you think about this? How about that? And just some of the sounding board. And she would challenge me, I mean, all the time, you know, and against what I would say, never be done, she would say to me, you'll never do it. Patty, when we moved into our new building in 1980 as H.W. Phillips Company, she was with me. And sales were just miserable, like I mentioned before. And she said, you know, why not let me go sell? I said, Patty, number one, you're a girl. Number two, I need you here. And she said, yeah, but you need sales more than you need me here. And I'll do both. Son of a gun, she turned around and she became the salesman of the year for 2 or 3 years in a row and sold more products than any of our guys salesmen out there, and just did a phenomenal job. Had a great following with everybody. Patty was the inspiration for great programs we've had. She took the Stephen Covey course in Salt Lake and brought that back to us, and is given that to over 100 of our key people, teach them how to be better managers, how to live better, and so on like that. She would listen intently to people's problems and would find a solution for it. And there's probably no one greater in the company than what Patty Peterson did.
So, Bob, tell me about John Jacobs when he came on board with the company and what he meant for our success and our growth.
John was, I first came across John in the late 60s. I used to have a customer that was called Aluminum Body Corporation, made a lot of smaller truck bodies and so on like that. And John was an engineer working for them. He was in his early 30s. From there, when I came back from Chicago wanting to make our own plug, we designed it as best salesmen could do, but we needed someone to draw it up so we could take it over to a tool maker and he could make the tooling for us. So we called John up and asked him if he would interested in moonlighting for us. That became the first product. Then we did the same thing with the socket and the socket breaker. And finally we got to the point where we were using John a lot to design product. We used him so often, and we said, you know, John, why don't you come to work for us? So John said, sure, I'll come to work for you guys, and he did. And so it was a perfect guy for us to bring on. Funny thing about John, though, John was an engineer. Engineers, a lot of times, are introverts. And it's one of the things that make them so good is that they can focus on things, not worry about what's going on around them. But John had a following to a certain point that was fairly good, and we wanted to maximize that. So I finally, I sent him to a Dale Carnegie course, learn how to be I call it the How to Win Friends, Influence People course. And he came out of that, and he came out as a changed man. He couldn't keep quiet, period. And it was one of the best investments we've ever made. Yeah.
John was a lot of fun to work with. He'd call you and, hey, what's going on with this?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's every product we've come up with, John's had his fingers in.
Yep.
So I mean, he's been extremely valuable to the company and great history.
Phillips is into its 90th year, and you now have a fourth generation Phillips running the company. Tell me about that. And Bill started with 95 or 93, and Rob started in 95, and Dave in 96. What's it like to have a fourth generation family member running the company and to work with your three sons?
Well, as much as everyone says how great it is, it's not as easy as people think.
Right.
Everyone's got personalities. Everyone has certain styles about them, and sometimes they clash. Sometimes they work in great bonding situations. You know, Rob all three kids started out in the plant riding skateboards, you know, on Saturdays. Then all of them worked in the plant as they got out of college, so they knew everybody. They weren't treated any differently than anybody else when they're actually working. Bill did his thing. He worked as a rep for a couple of years before he came into the company. And then Rob, for his beer money and drinking money in college, he developed a miniature coil cable he sold. We built over here, shipped them over to northern Arizona where he was going to school, and he would sell those to the trailer manufacturers over there, the recreational vehicle people, and it's a little 4 and 6 way coiled cable that blew one, and that kind of caught on. And you see it now in a lot of the recreational vehicle stores. Dave, on the other hand, went to several schools over in Arizona, and then came back to Santa Barbara, and then Long Beach State. And he came into purchasing because he had to be as familiar with the products. He knew what we were doing, and put him into purchasing. From there, we needed to have someone to call on Freightliner and PACCAR for us. Dave was only 23 or 24 years old, so about like me, came from that stage, and he accepted the position going to Portland, and he moved up there. At one time, he used to tease us that he controlled 70% of our business. That was because he had the Freightliner business, the PACCAR business, and the Fleet Pride business, all through him, and plus other ones too. But each one has their own ideas. The hard part for me, and I think for any father, is to allow them to make decisions, because you want to do it a certain way, your way, for a long time, and you need to let that go. Their motivator is not money, or not motivator is success, and they want to raise a bar like I wanted to raise a bar, 40 years ago, and they do it. They reach for the impossible and come awful darn close to it. So
that's great.
Yeah,
they do a fine job.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you.
You do enough fishing and golfing, so we're good.
We're not going to copy somebody. We want to make something better and different. And like I said before, we don't want to make it cheaper, we make it better.
Vince Lombardi said, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And you have an industry friend that says you're the luckiest guy he's ever met. You want to talk about success and luck, hard work? You've had some tough times. You've had some times where maybe you stepped out a little too far and all of a sudden, said, hey, what have I done, and is this going to work?
Yeah.
You want to talk about those a little bit?
Well, Yeah, every day starts out with an obstacle, and if you imagine that, then you can get through it.